Welcome everyone to another webinar by Boxman. And this time we are going to speak about reciprocal tariffs. As you know, tariffs have been the talk of the town for a long time now. And yeah, so we are very excited to talk about how it can affect your businesses and what more. So right now it's not really my place to talk more about it. So I would like to hand it over to our managing director, Sajid. You can take over.
Thank you, Raveen. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sajid Sheikh, Managing Director at Boxman Global Logistics. I would like to welcome each one of you to this important session on the rising wave of reciprocal tariff and what it means to all of us involved in the trade and logistics. At Boxman, we just don't move for freight. We also move businesses forward. And staying ahead of global trade policy shifts is part of our way of helping our partners to stay competitive. So today's discussion is about having the necessary clarity and action plan because tariffs aren't new. It's not a new topic, but reciprocal tariff and the geopolitical implications are changing the landscape. We are here to help you understand who is impacted, how to respond, and where the opportunity lies. Today, we are going to walk through the mechanics of this policy and its global footprint. I am joined also by our sales manager, Deepak Khan, who will take us through the key trade dynamics before we dive into its implications here in the UAE and beyond. So, with that, Deepak, if you can take the floor and introduce us to this reciprocal tariff.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sajid, for the welcome. Good morning, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. So, tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. We have been hearing this word since long in this month in newspaper, media, YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. So, I think tariff will probably the word of the year. So, I would like to ask my audience if they can, you know, tell me what tariff is in their own, knowledge. So, I would ask Raveen, can we get some responses from the audience? What they mean by tariff?
Okay, let me check.
I would like my audience just to put some responses, what they know about tariff and what they understood by tariff.
Okay, we have one response saying it's a headache. Um,
Okay.
okay, we are getting another response saying that it's customs duties and taxes on their shipments. They have business tax, likewise.
Okay. Thank you, Raveen, and thank you, audience, for the responses. So, let me talk about tariff. So, tariffs are the taxes that are imposed or on the goods that are imported in a country to protect the local industries and to raise the revenue. Every government, every country wants to raise the revenue of their country and wants to protect their local manufacturer and local uh, customers. So that's the reason import tax has been introduced. So these import tax are called tariffs in a simpler way. So we'll talk about the different types of tariffs. The one is protective tariff, the second is retaliatory, and the third one is reciprocal tariff. So what is a protective tariff? The name suggests it is designed to protect the domestic industries from the foreign market and the foreign competition which comes in our country. The second one is retaliatory tariff. If someone imposed a tariff on my goods which I am exporting to one country, I will also retaliate and I will also impose the same kind of tariff, same kind of import tax or the export tax that is called a retaliatory tax. And the third one is a reciprocal tariff. Reciprocal tariff is the tariff which is imposed to match the country's tariff so that it can be have fair trade of agreement between both the countries. In simpler way, it can be known as tit for tat tariff. Moving on to the next slide, we'll talk about the case of USA. Let's do some maths here. We will talk about the US trade with China. As you can see in this graph, US imports approximate $600 billion of imports and export approximate 150 billion of goods to other countries. Basically, this graph is shows to China only. So if we talk about China and USA, there is a trade deficit. There is a trade deficit of approximate $400 billion. This $400 billion is approximate 1% of GDP of USA. That is a huge amount. That's the reason why USA is implemented this reciprocal tariff, because they want to safeguard the local manufacturer of USA. That is the main reason why USA has imposed and come up with a reciprocal tariff. And it was a, when Trump was in election, he was telling it to the audience, once I will be elected, I will impose that reciprocal tariff so that I can make the American customers, American audience, American consumers, up to a level so that they can also sell their items to other countries on a larger scale. So that is the reason why this trade reciprocal tariff has been introduced to safeguard the local interest of the USA market. So in this graph, you can see, I told you, $400 billion is the trade deficit. So what trade deficit is? Trade deficit in a simpler way means if the country imports more than the export, the amount which is there is called the trade deficit. In a simpler way, when a country imports more than the export, is the trade deficit. Yeah, this is all about the China and the USA trade thing. Now we'll talk about what is reciprocal tariff. So as in the first slide I mentioned, reciprocal tariff is a tit for tat tariff. In Trump's way, it is like if they do it for us, we will do it for them. So in a simpler way, we'll talk about the this definition. A reciprocal tariff is a tax or a trade restriction that one country places on another in response to a similar action taken by that country. So it's like if you poke me, I will poke you back. That is called reciprocal tariff. So what are the benefits and why this reciprocal tariff has been introduced by the country? It's a form of a government revenue. So it helps the government to generate the income, and that income can be help the country's development. Every tariff which has been imposed by any country, that leads to generate the revenue, and that revenue can help them to generate the roads, infrastructure, schools, hospitals. So that is the reason why tariffs are imports imposed, and government can have a revenue out of it. The second is to protect the local industries and incentivize them. As in the first slide, I told you why Trump has introduced this reciprocal tariff, because he wants to safeguard the local interest of the USA manufacturers. The reciprocal tariff has been seen a way to protect the local industry from the foreign competition, so that other foreign competition cannot come in their country and they can export more to the outside world. By imposing these similar kind of tariffs on imported goods, the aim of the country is to support the local industries so that they can sell in their own country and they can sell across the globe. If I may have an example here, I would like to quote a similar case has happened in South Korea in 1980s and in 1990s, when the local farmers of South Korea were they are facing some challenges with the technology and they were not able to grow the rice. So what happened? South Korea was importing a lot of goods from America, from Vietnam, from Thailand, the rice. They're importing the rice from them. And because of they're importing the rice from them, the reason why the local farmers are not able to cope up with the current demand, because they are the prices of the imported good were less. So then the South Korea government come up in the ground, and then they imposed a heavy tax on the imported goods that helped the local farmers to sell their goods in a proper way channel and on a similar rate, that helped the local country and local farmers to sell their goods in the market. And that's the reason why reciprocal tariff is not at all not in a negative way, it can also help the country in a better way also. The third we'll talk about, it can also build a local produce habit. And the fourth one is it can be a powerful negotiation tool. Like you have been hearing the news, like out of the after the 2nd April, Trump has introduced this reciprocal tariff. 70 nations, 70 countries are still negotiating with Trump. So it's not at all negative. Sometimes it can work as in a positive way also, because after the moment the executive order has been published on 2nd April, 70 countries are reaching out to US to have a negotiation deal with them so that they can come up on a same page. Now we'll talk about how much is the tariff. In this slide, we'll talk about how much is the tariff. So you can see that China, Cambodia, and Vietnam, these are the three countries which are heavily impacted by the reciprocal tariff. 145%, 49, and 46. This straight away shows that China is heavily imposed on the goods. Yeah, and Cambodia. So on the right side, you can see Sri Lanka, Thailand, Bangladesh, Taiwan, Indonesia, Switzerland, and India. These are the countries which are not that much impacted, but they are impacted with heavily, imported goods. Because if USA will not retaliate, USA will not put the reciprocal tariff, they will start importing a lot, and that's the reason why the USA economy will be devastating. So these are the tariffs which, as you can see, there's a baseline tariff for 10% or a blanket tariff, which is a 10% is introduced. So this, if you can see that 145%, it includes the baseline tariff of 10% also. Moving on to the next slide, sectors that are hit. So these are the sectors which hit a lot after this reciprocal tariff: technology, automotive, agriculture, and so on. So there are a lot of our customers which are from the similar industries which are dealing in technology, automotive, agriculture. So they must be, paying a lot of duty if they are sending their goods to USA. So if you are in a similar industry, you must, find a solution, or, find a way how you can, find a way so that you can safeguard your interest in terms of exporting to USA. Now I would like to hand over the slides and to Mr. Sajid. Now he will talk about more in the coming up slides.
Okay, thank you, Deepak. So thanks, Deepak has spoken about tariff. So I'm quite pleased to know that the audience we have is quite familiar with what tariff is all about and the three different types of tariff that usually any country would have. So here we are discussing more on the reciprocal tariff. So reciprocal tariff, like Deepak said, it is basically to reciprocate what the other country is imposing on US. So here the subject is US, and we are talking about how it is impacting the global supply chain, how it's going to impact the businesses around us and the logistics. As you can see, it all started, or the case, yeah, or the subject, like I said, is USA. This reciprocal tariff has been introduced on April 2nd. However, it's not implemented yet completely. There is a pause of 90 days. But barring, I mean to say, China is already been impacted. So any goods going from China or originating in China are already impacted with this reciprocal tariff. We will also see in the upcoming slide, there are certain commodities which are also exempted from these changes. And the other very big change is the de minimis, which is reduced. De minimis is nothing but the minimum value on which the tariff or the custom duty is applied. So in the US, until the first week of April, the regulation was anything up to $800. We are talking about B2C here, so a business shipping to the consumer or the end user. Up to $800, there is no tariff at all. However, with this change, effective April 1st week, to be precise, 5th of April, anything from China or from Hong Kong will have no de minimis. The de minimis exemption has been taken out. So the B2C orders that are going from China and Hong Kong will be having having of tariff of as much as 90% or a minimum of $75, as you can see in the screen. My bad, it is from May 2. It's not implemented yet. It's from May 2. This will come into effect. So we're just a week away from this. Baseline tariff of 10% is for all the countries. Okay, so that is the baseline, that's a bare minimum for any commodity, any country. And like I said, there's a 90 days pause except for China at the moment. So that's what we know so far. And like Deepak mentioned, the countries who are impacted, which is everybody pretty much, including Antarctica, you would have heard about it. So most of these economies or the countries are negotiating with the US to come to a win-win kind of a situation. But until then, the situation is uncertain, and we are preparing ourselves to see how we can utilize this as an opportunity and make the necessary shift in the supply chain or the way we do our business. So moving ahead, let's see how it has impacted the or how China retaliates. So, like we know, the most impacted country is China, and there is no pause for them. So China has also retaliated. Now this becomes a retaliatory tariff. So we spoke about three types of tariff, right? So this is the one of the kind of tariff, retaliatory tariff, which is applied by China, which is as much as 125%, similar to what US have imposed on China. And this is on some of the top imports in China from US, from agriculture to aviation goods that comes mainly from China. So there is a huge trade deficit. That is one of the reason, and I hope that is clear. So the background of this is the trade deficit that US is having with most of the countries, and that is the reason they had to imply this tariffs to protect the local manufacturers, to get more jobs into the US, and of course to have a right balance, trade balance as well. So, anyways, like you all know, most of the countries are negotiating with US. However, China retaliated and they also imposed 125%. Then coming to Europe, Europe also retaliated because Europe is also been impacted in a big way. Europe has imposed almost 25% tariff as a retaliatory tariff, and this is going to impact the 2.8 billion US exports to Europe, mainly in on the items that's mentioned on the list here, from boats to clothing and motorbikes and so on. However, that is not all. There would be almost 20 billion plus dollar worth of US imports into Europe, which will be impacted by this 25%. Having said so, there is a pause on this. So Europe reciprocated with the US pause. So US gave 3 months time. So Europe also has kept this on hold. This policy or this retaliation is in line with Europe policy of 2018 and 2020 to balance the tariff between the countries they or with the countries they do trade with. So this is currently on pause. So the UAE, EU retaliation is not in place, just like how US has put a pause of 90 days. So far, what we know is that only China originated goods, China and Hong Kong are impacted. B2B and B2C will come in play from May 2nd. Let's move to our home, UAE, and how it's going to impact the UAE and what is the opportunity. Like I said, in any adversity there is opportunity. That's what we want to focus on, and we want to help our partners and the stakeholders to see how we can navigate through these challenges. So the reciprocal tariff is applied on the by the country of origin where the goods are manufactured or made. It's not by where from where it is shipped. Excuse me. So goods made in China will be impacted even if it's shipped from UAE. So let's say if you're in a business wherein you are importing and using UAE as a hub to export into different parts of the world, including US, these Chinese tariff or the increase of tariff on the Chinese product will still apply. 10% baseline on the tariff on the UAE is applied. So 10% irrespective what is the commodity, what is the origin, 10% will be applied. However, good news is that for UAE it is 10% for it. That's the max 10%. So that is for UAE made or country of origin UAE goods. It's 10%. So it's one of the lowest in the world at the moment. So that's something for us to look at and see how we can take benefit of that for probably moving some of the manufacturing here or part of the manufacturing, finishing the goods here, doing some value adds in the UAE, and having the made in UAE as a country of origin and taking benefit of this 10% baseline tariff. UAE also has a CEPA, Comprehensive Economic Pact, with different countries like India, Turkey. So that will also change with this, as there is no CEPA UAE has with US. So which means UAE will not be exempted exactly, but however, with countries like India, Turkey, there is a CEPA, and there are many more countries also. So the trade routes or the procurement can be planned according to that. UAE has been traditionally known as a re-export hub, and it will be even more prominent as this new trade policy is applied, and that's the UAE role that is going to play in this coming months. Business growth, for the local firms and the local manufacturer, definitely there is a huge opportunity for growing the business, or utilizing UAE's not just strategic advantage in terms of location, but also strategic advantage based on this new trade policy. So overall, we see that UAE, we are placed in a good position to leverage on this uncertain times as opportunity for us to take advantage of the trade shifts and the policies that are in place. So with that, like we were discussing about how it is important for all of us, it will help us to make sure that we plan our supply chain in such a manner that we are able to limit or minimize the adverse impact of the tariff. We cannot completely eliminate this. However, we are seeing different innovative ways of how we can reduce the impact and probably be more competitive, especially from UAE and India. Since you have seen in the slide, India, although the reciprocal tariff is 26%, is still one of the lowest in Asia. So, and UAE, India has CEPA agreement in place. So there can be a lot of synergy between these three markets, India, UAE, and US. And that's what something I would urge all our audience here and doing in different businesses, and how to probably plan or design their supply chain between these three markets. There is, of course, optimization required, a lot of changes in the routing, how we do business in terms of supply chain, and all of those things. This is why it is important for us to plan now. We still have some time with this 90 days pause. I think companies have the opportunity to figure out what would be the best way forward for them, if they want to utilize UAE or continue to utilize UAE as a hub, or have some synergy between the markets which are falling under similar kind of a position to take or leverage on the current situation. So, like I said earlier, just to how to navigate from this current situation, we have to assess the impact and exposure to our businesses. So first of all, we have to see what is the impact. Is there any impact? If your business is not falling in one of these categories, let's say you are not having major manufacturing happening in China or the most impacted countries, if you are not falling in that category of goods which are heavily impacted, then I think there is nothing much to worry. Maybe some fine tuning would be required, but assessing the impact on your and the exposure on your business is very important. Then we have to evaluate the different options that are available in terms of sourcing, manufacturing, and the shipping routes. So sourcing, like we said, these tariffs are applied on the country of origin. So sourcing becomes very important, that we are sourcing and manufacturing it from a country which is least impacted. And a lot of Asian countries are not an option, as in the past, like China and Vietnam, Hong Kong would be not the best option if you are really looking at saving on the tariffs. Another suggestion or how we can navigate is to, a lot of time when we are shipping, the goods are from different origins, China and mixed, so it would be better to split that shipment into by country of origin, because if you ship a shipment with Chinese origin goods, chances are the complete shipment will be considered as originating from China, and that heavy tariff will be imposed on the entire shipment. So it will be a wise choice to split that shipment into two or different parts. Consolidated shipments is another good option. Now, you must be thinking of how consolidation would help. It will help, especially if you're shipping a lot of small to medium size orders to your consumers in the US, because every transaction or every shipment that's cleared in the US would attract minimum fees for the clearance. That can be a clearance fees, that can be a fees that is for something we call in UAE like a bill of entry fees, handling fees and so on. So there are different fees, that's brokerage fees. So there are many fees that are applied. So let's say if you're shipping 10 small orders in a month, and you're paying, let's say, $100 per shipment in clearance charges. So we're talking about thousands. So that can be reduced by reducing or consolidating the shipments into two or three shipments instead of 10. So there can be some saving by consolidating. That was just a very quick example. However, I'm sure when we go to the drawing board and do some working, we will be able to be more creative and come up with some plan how we can take benefit of consolidation and splitting it by country of origin. And continue to monitor, of course, the policy change. Be informed, because still there is uncertainty and ambiguity around this entire change. Um, we uh, we are also waiting to see what's the negotiation is going to bring to the countries which have been impacted. Probably there will be some reduction as well. So yes, it's about a couple of months to 2.5 months for us to know exactly what will be the change. So it's better to continuously monitor and be aware of what's happening. And another one thing is to look out for FTA. So FTA is a free trade agreement. So US still has free trade agreements with certain countries, and probably that could be part of your supply chain optimization or planning, wherein you can consider these countries as options to also probably manufacture your products or source your products from. Okay, so having said that, while we have all these things going on, and like we see there's a still massive opportunity for somebody like the UAE. um, just to add on a few things also, the UAE to US export is just 20% of the total trade, which is around $35 billion in 2024. So 35 billion, out of which 27 billion was imports from US. So the exports from UAE to US is something around 8 billion, which is still significant. However, it is just 20% of the total trade. So it's more of imports that are coming into UAE from US. However, this number is expected to grow. The exports out of UAE is expected to grow with all the smart planning and supply chain that businesses are going to adapt to with this shift in the trade policies. Okay, so when we are talking about this, like I said, if your business is into certain types of commodities, or is made in certain countries, they're still exempted from taxes, even with this introduction of this reciprocal tariff. So Deepak, if you can just help us, are you telling us this list, what you're having on the screen, are all exempted from complete taxes or just the reciprocal tariff?
No, there's a good news also, Sajid. So not all commodities are taxes. If you will talk about, these are the HSN codes which are exempted from the taxes. The baseline tariff or the blanket tariff will be applied, that is 10%, but other reciprocal tariff will not be applied on these certain commodities. So
Okay, that's good news. That's good to know. So I hope you're looking at this very closely. We are going to share this information with you. It's available online on the US Customs portal as well. So Deepak, if you can show us how can we look up on the US Customs portal
sure,
for a
sure, sure.
particular harmless goods.
Navigate. Yeah, I will just navigate through a live demo how we can check. I would ask my audience if they can provide me an HSN code, which is they are dealing in some like similar commodity. they can just put their answers in the chat bar.
We have 8542 in the Q&A.
8542.
42. That's it.
I need a 6 digit for this harmonized tariff schedule in USA. We need a 6 digit code, but still we'll try with this one. So this is the electronic integrated cigarette parts. So on this website, on the left hand, you can see the search result. On the right hand side, you can see the download chapter. So this particular harmonized code is falls under chapter 85. You can also export this. So if you can just scroll it down, you can see the processor and the controller. This will attract general duty, which is it's free, but after the reciprocal tariff, it's 35%. So if somebody is sending the goods to USA for this particular HSN code, it will attract 35% of duty after 90 days. Because as of
So this
now,
is Deepak, if,
yeah,
just a question. So this is irrespective of where the country of origin or the goods originate from. This is on the HS code.
yes,
Is that
correct.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. On the free trade agreement or the, as you mentioned, like the country specific, we can check with other HS code as well. Can somebody give me a different HS code in the chat bar? Ravin, can you just help me with a different HS code? Maybe clothes.
Right. This
85
to
28
dot 52.
52. Same. Yeah, if you will see that in the HS code 85043140, this is having a power handling capacity less than 1 kilowatt. So in this, the general duty is 6.6%, but in the special category, you can see that from Australia, from Bahrain, from Cambodia, and all these countries. So all these countries have a free trade agreement or like Sajid mentioned, CAPA agreement in place. So that's the reason they will have a free and no reciprocal tariff has been implied. But the countries which are not in the list will attract a 35% of duty on the baseline tariff. So it will attract 45%. 35% is the reciprocal tariff, and plus the 10% is the baseline or the blanket, which applies all the goods which are imported to USA. So we will share this link of the website. This is a government website of USA. You guys can check what are the commodities you are sending to USA and how much duty it will attract. And you can also download it, this chapter here, and from this download link. And you can see what are the particular HS code mentioned and what are the sub-segment of the HS code. You can see everything in this chapter, in this download history. So that's all from my side, Sajid,
Yeah,
on
so
the.
that's quite interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Deepak. I think this will make life easier for all the people here and in logistics and trade to determine what kind of tax implication or tariff implication we'll be having on different products. It will also help us with the planning, like we were talking a lot on the planning, optimization, trade routes, and things like that. So I think this portal will be very handy. So like Deepak mentioned, general is for everybody, but special, if your country is falling under that special category, is exempted. And the number two, what is mentioned there is the reciprocal tariff on top of the general or the baseline of 10%. So we will share these resources with you, so yeah, you will be able to check the products that or the commodity that you're dealing in. With that, we just want to quickly recap on the background. So we have been talking about the reciprocal tariff, the talking point of the year, I would say, and like Deepak said, maybe it's a century as well, depending on how it is impacting the businesses around the globe. We understood the different types of tariff. We have also understood why US is applying these tariffs. what made them take this decision. We also spoke about how it is majorly impacting China and how China and Europe retaliated, how there is a 90 days pause for all this except for China, the de minimis taken out for B2C. Those were some key highlights. And then we were talking on how it is benefiting or how it is impacting us in UAE, how we can take this opportunity as an opportunity and see how we can plan in a way where it will help us to navigate through this challenge and also reduce the adverse impact. So with that, I would like to thank you all for joining. We still have some Q&A session after this. So what we are seeing is today is not just a policy shift, it's a transformation of the way we do business or the global trade routes. There is going to be a significant impact in the coming days. India, UAE has a real opportunity as a hub, as a facilitator, and as a strategic trade partner. So at Boxman, we are committed to helping our customers navigate this landscape through smarter logistics, better technology with Box Manager, and a hands-on trade guidance. So if you like a deeper support or detailed discussion, we are available and we will be sharing these resources as well with you after this session. Let's turn this uncertainty into an opportunity for all of us. So thank you once again for attending this, and we would like to open this for any quick question that you would have before we close the session for today. Thank you once again for joining.
Okay, so everyone, we have the Q&A open. You can click on the Q&A button down there on your screen right now, and you can ask any questions that you might have from Deepak to Sajid here, and we'll be happy to answer. Okay, we got one question. The question is how reciprocal tariffs align with WTO. Um, Deepak or Sajid, would anyone like to
Yeah,
answer?
thank you so much for the question, guys. So let me like answer this question. So WTO, World Trade Organization. So this reciprocal tariff is not new. It was introduced also in after like Second World War when the in from the US only after the Second World War was happened, and because of this reciprocal tariff, they have their economy went into a recession because all the other countries stopped sending the goods to USA. So that's the reason when World Trade Organization was established, and there were some members of WTO and GATT as well, General Trade on Trade and Tariffs and Trade. So if the countries falls under that category, they have signed an agreement with the WTO. So they cannot like the reciprocity should be up to a certain level. It cannot be like tit for tat. If I will hit you hard, you will hit me harder. That's what happening with China and USA. So there is a certain limit up to an extent USA can go, but it cannot be like USA can impose 1,000% of duty to China, and it can have an adverse effect on the global trade because of the just wanted to share one fact here. After the 2nd April, when the Trump has introduced this reciprocal tariff, $9.5 trillion has been wiped out from the stock market. That includes the global trade like Nasdaq, Dow Jones, Sensex, National Stock Exchange, Hong Kong, everywhere. So $9.5 trillion is a huge amount that comes up for a GDP of certain countries. So that's the reason WTO and GATT has comes up in a place so that the trade should happen in a proper way. It cannot be like reciprocity should be up to a certain level because everybody is here for a trade, and that's the reason we are into globalization. So it cannot be like all the countries are member of WTO, but they should follow the trade and regulation. They cannot breach that limit. Thank you.
So I think Deepak, they have already reached the bench, the threshold, right? They
Yeah,
cannot go
threshold.
beyond.
threshold is approximate 300%, but as of now, as China has not retaliated, they have put up a pause of 145%. That's the reason why as of now the current tariffs in USA is 245%, and for the China is 145%. So there is
But
a
they can
pause
go
of
up to 300.
300. It can go up to 300. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you.
So we have another question from Usama. The question is, how do you see this as an opportunity if the same tariff is applied for re-export and transit cargo?
If the same, sorry, if you can repeat that last line, please.
The question is, how do you see this as an opportunity if the same tariff is applied for re-export and transit cargo?
Okay, thanks, Sama, for the question. So, like we said, this is on the country of origin, not from where it's being shipped. So, even if it's shipped via UAE, let's say Chinese goods, it will still attract the Chinese tariff on the Chinese goods. I mean, so there is no kind of benefit of this tariff by rerouting or using UAE as a transshipment hub because end of the day the tariff will be applied based on the country of origin. However, there has to be a certain part of manufacturing, certain value add that UAE has to do or create and to make that product as made in UAE or to complete the production manufacturing in UAE. I think that would help to declare those goods as UAE made and not other country and take the benefit of the UAE 10% tariff, but not for transshipments and re-exports. Exactly.
Right. Hope that answered the question. So we have another question, Sajid. It's from Romeo. The question is UAE under CEPA agreement? And he further says that tariff for HS code 330-300-10 made in UAE. Is UAE under CEPA agreement is the question.
So UAE and US does not have a CEPA agreement in place. So no, to answer that question. And regarding the particular HS code, we can check it on the portal. What kind of tariff will be applied to that? If Deepak or Ravin, you can answer that second part of the question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I have shared the screen on that, Deepak.
Yeah. So for the particular HS code, this the commodity is description is
Plural.
chloral and floral water. Yeah, the general is free and 20%. So to answer your question, 20% is the tariff, to 20% of the custom duty is applied on your commodity.
This is additional, like this is a reciprocal.
Additional, this is additional on the baseline. So total custom duty, if you are importing, if you are exporting to USA will be 30%, 20% plus the baseline, 10%. And if there will be a SEPA agreement, which you have asked, it will be mentioned here in special category. So if the SEPA agreement for this particular HS code will be there, then it's mentioned. So it's not mentioned here. So 30% will be applicable on this particular HS code.
Just a small correction. So it will be FTA, free trade agreement or something like that will be mentioned. SEPA is more comprehensive policy or the agreement between two countries, which includes a lot of other things. It's not just about tariff, but it allows smooth trade flows with as low as or almost 0% duties. So there is no SEPA between UAE and US. So yes, that will not help. And but yeah, in this case, there is no FTA as well. So there is no tax benefit or tariff benefit. It will be 20 plus 10, 30%.
Right. Hope that answered the question, Romeo. So we have one more question. The question is, how do SMEs adapt to sudden impositions?
Okay. I think I didn't hear from whom this question is, but anyways, thanks for the question. So UAE, if you talk about SME, is huge presence of SMEs in UAE. There are a lot of small, medium-sized businesses. In fact, there are almost a million registered business in UAE, out of which a good 75-80% would be SMEs. So there are lots and lots of SMEs. And to navigate through this for SMEs, of course, it is easy as well as difficult. Easy because they can make the changes fairly or relatively easier than large companies or corporates. They can take quick decisions and so on. So going back to what we discussed overall, how to navigate, I think it's the most important thing is to assess the impact to their business, because we cannot generalize for all the SMEs. It is different businesses, different trading the companies are into. So based on what business you are in and what is the impact on your particular commodity, you have to assess the impact, and then evaluate what are the options available in terms of sourcing, in terms of manufacturing, and also shipping. Based on that, probably you can take the right decision and all that thing. So most important is to assess and then evaluate the different options that are available. We gave a couple of suggestions like splitting shipment, consolidating shipment. That will help to an extent, not completely, but to an extent. And continue to monitor any policy change that's coming up. And yeah, so that is what we would suggest for the SMEs.
Okay. So, with the interest of time, and since we don't have any upcoming questions in, we will wind up the webinar for today. But again, once more, I'll leave this here until we switch off the webinar. So you can scan this QR code and ask any questions directly from anyone at Boxman. And like Sajid said, we are happy to continue this discussion in depth if you reach out to us. And definitely, Boxman is ready to navigate through these sudden changes and the sudden impositions of tariffs and all of that, and to take this as an opportunity. So once again, thank you so much for everyone who is present here, and we will see you in a future webinar as well.